Hey everybody, it's Charles from HumbleMechanic.com, and today we're talking about opening up your own shop. All right, so I'm here at the Apex show. I am joined by Ryan, who is a former Audi tech. We decided a master champion Audi tech. He was an Audi tech for about 8 years, did the dealership thing, and decided to make the leap that I think a lot of us really want to make, and that's opening up our own shop. So we had a chat. I thought it would be really great because this is a question I get all the time. Charles, I want to open up my own shop. Do you have any advice? Should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? Well, the should or shouldn't is not a question either one of us can answer, but I think Ryan can give you guys some really, really awesome insight to what it's like, some of the things that are amazing, some of the things you probably never thought you'd ever have to do as a shop owner. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan. Tell your story, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I worked for Audi for about 8 years. I went through traditional kind of setup, went to UTI, went through the Audi Academy, and then got placed at a dealership in Dallas, Texas, at Audi Plano. And you know, it was, like most technicians, a pretty typical ramp up, you know, spent more money on tools than I made for a couple of years.
I remember those years very well.
I felt like I had all of the knowledge to succeed, but not a lot of the, you know, if it was a motivation or a know-how or just kind of putting it all together. And you can kind of tell, you know, when you're training an apprentice, like when you see that moment when everything clicks.
Yeah,
and
I love that moment.
And so it just all comes together, and all of a sudden, you know, you're running good hours, you're getting your ranks up through, you know, bugging your shop foreman to send you to classes, and I finally worked my way up to Master Guild and had a lot of opportunities with Audi. Got to win the National Tech Challenge, which is like the Twin Cup Challenge, which Volkswagen also has.
Yep. I'm actually going to that next week.
It's a lot of fun.
I'm excited.
It's one of my favorite parts of my career there. And, you know, and so there was a lot of opportunity, but, you know, like all dealer techs, there were things, you know, not big issues, but things that, you know, hey, maybe we could do this a little bit better, or maybe we could interface with the customer in this way, or, you know, concerns about, you know, is the customer getting the relevant information about their vehicle through, you know, an advisor that is maybe new, you know, you've had all those guys, and, you know, by the time a car gets to you, you write it up, and a parts guy deals with, you know, the parts information, and then an advisor deals with it. It gets all jumbled.
Right, there's so many hands that touch it, and I think to kind of sum that up, you feel almost like your voice isn't heard. You're speaking the words out there, and everybody's like not hearing it, period, or hey, that's a really great idea, and then just down the river it goes.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's gotten that ticket back from the advisor with the highlighted sections of everything the customer doesn't need, and all of the things that, you know, you really felt like they needed on their vehicle just go unanswered, right. And there's really no recourse. But, you know, little things like that, red tape, you know, the whole corporate side of things.
And you're dealing with two, because you got VW of America, plus your dealer groups, corporations. So these are all like the really common frustration points that most of us technicians, even the guys that, like me, I work at a really great dealership,
right,
and I still have some of these frustrations. And to be honest, a lot of that's never going to change in the dealership environment. So what happened? You got out.
Yeah, so I was looking at, you know, some different options, and honestly, I considered a whole wide variety of things. You know, maybe I'll get into real estate, or I'll go finish my bachelor's degree, or I'll, you know, do any number of things. At the end, I decided to settle on leveraging the knowledge that I'd accumulated into something different, maybe doing it the way I wanted to do it at the dealer, take a dealership almost approach to an independent, because, you know, you're a dealer tech, oh, this car came in from that independent, you know, the brake caliper's gonna be hanging off, all the wiring's gonna be messed up, you know, but what would happen if the independent was at a dealer level quality with OEM parts, OEM scan tools, OEM access to information, and the highest quality trained technicians doing the work? You know, would that work at an independent level? And so that was basically the question that drove me to start Blair Automotive. And, you know, we started in a single stall, one lift, storage unit. and people kept showing up, and they really enjoyed the more personal interaction, being able to talk to your mechanic, being able to talk to who's actually going to be working on your vehicle at any given point.
And I think that's a really important thing. Like, that's always been the way I've approached it is I want my customer to know me, because to me, they're not, sure, they're the dealership customer, they're the shop customer, but they're my customer.
Yeah.
I care about their car. I want their car right. And that is some of that red tape that a lot of dealerships are not cool with. And part of it is because someone like you is going to come in and, be really awesome and maybe capture some of that business away. But flip side of that is if you didn't want that captured, there's a way around it.
So that was the idea, the dream, the goal. And I think when, if we're talking about starting your own independent, maybe you're thinking about, there are definitely some things to kind of be aware of that I just never would have thought of. And, some of those would be, be prepared to not have an income for up to 2 to 3 years. I've only just now started paying myself, and I'm still the least paid employee in my business.
Yeah, you're not going to flip the lights on that first Monday morning and
Correct.
bring in $100,000 that week.
So there's definitely a patience factor. As a tech that averaged really good hours in the dealer, that was definitely really frustrating for me. At the beginning, is just a lack of income. And what does that mean for your personal life and your family and things like that? And that's something that you really have to think about and plan for ahead of time, because otherwise you're putting other people in positions that just aren't fair to them.
Exactly. And income's not just the dollars on your paycheck, it's your health insurance, it's the taxes that your dealer or your employer pays that you're now, instead of paying 14% Social Security, you're paying all of it. It's no vacation time, it's no retirement, so it's not just the zeros that you put in the bank on Friday. There's so much more to it, and that's a really good point. If you guys are thinking about this, you can't just be pissed off at work one day and go, I'm going to start my own shop, because you're probably not going to make it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that, I looked at a lot of guys at my dealer that, this guy is awesome. He's running all these hours. He's got so much versatility. He's really consistent. Why doesn't he go do something else? But if you look at it, most technicians, you get comfortable. You're making we make pretty good money at the dealership, and then you get a family and everything involved, and your bills and everything, and being able to let go of that for a period of time is really difficult. It's just logistically difficult. But if you can manage it, that's definitely, once you get through that first few years, and that's, you build up, you've got to have, you start building up clients, and then you get into all these other issues that you never thought you'd have to deal with.
So we got the money thing.
The money thing.
What else are we going to run into?
So I was a mechanic full time. Never did any advisor work in my career, and so one thing is when you're really small and it's just one guy, or maybe you and another technician, you're now a service advisor.
You're the mechanic, the technician, the service advisor.
Janitor.
Yep, the janitor, the accountant. You're the Facebook guy, the Twitter guy.
Social media.
You're everything, and you can't go, hey boss, what do we do? Because you got someone going, hey boss, what do we do?
And based on your different skill sets, you may find oh, hey, I'm actually pretty good at this, or oh man, I see so many pitfalls in the way that I operate doing this role, And so I recognized pretty quickly that I was good at marketing, at social media, at getting out there, at being the face of my brand, and not very good at managing 50 emails and 100 phone calls, all while trying to do a valve clean on a 2-liter,
and motivate the other guy to not be in a bad mood because he just got his butt kicked by a car. It's a lot that we, as whether you're just an independent or you're just a dealer, if you're just at that technician level, we don't see a lot of what goes on. We don't always understand that the advisor is the punching bag of the building, and the service manager not only is listening to me complain, but the 12 other techs and the 4 advisors and all the mad customers. And it's so important to realize that becomes you.
I mean, you get used to at the dealer, like, I'll just go grab this ticket and, okay, here's everything it needs. Let me just walk to the parts counter. Oh, here's my part. It's just magically here. That's awesome. And I'll just go put it on the car and then park it in front of a car wash and I'm done, right? Well, that's actually only about 25% of the effort involved in getting that car in, getting the parts for it, getting the car back to the customer, making sure the customer is happy. I mean, there's so much else involved, and so that was definitely a big eye-opener for me when I first started. You know, and then on top of just the regular, you know, the cliche, you know, you're a mechanic or you're a plumber, you're an electrician, and now you're running a business. And there are all sorts of aspects to running a business that
I'm thinking like getting licenses and making sure you have the air conditioning certification and your coolant traps and oil separators are working. I mean,
it's your building and everything involved with that, and then all of your paperwork and, you know, what type of business are you? Are you an escort? Do you have shares? Do you even know what that means? Right. You know, like, so there are all these things involved in getting set up. But really, if you can get through these initial kind of, you know, difficulties, once you put everything together, you start hiring yourself out of the roles that you're not very good at. I was able to bring on a top tier advisor that I worked with at the dealership, and I was able to get back into the shop and start wrenching again full time, which has been really nice, actually. When you're wrenching because it's something that, you know, you want to do, and it's because your name is on the product or on the building, you can have a different perspective on it. And I know a lot of, you know, being successful in the dealership or at an independent, it's a lot of mindset, you know. But for me, the mindset is just easier at the independent. You know, it's a little bit slower pace. You know, if I run 6 hours, 8 hours a day, I'm happy. You know, I would need to do double that at the dealer, otherwise I'm sweating, or I got, you know, 3 bosses telling me, you know, you need more.
Bosses, Bob. 8
bosses.
But I think the thing is now you can decide, or you can let your business dictate where you fill in. If your tech's out sick, you jump in and be a tech. If your advisor's out, you jump in and be an advisor. And you have to be able to do all those roles.
Correct.
Otherwise, you can't make, you know, this is not like doing side work, right? When you do side work, you get the car, you bring it to your house, you got your tools, you fix it, you get the keys back, and that's it. You don't have to worry about all this other stuff. This is a business. This is a professional establishment. You can't just dive into it without some experience in doing things like this.
Yes. But really at the end of the day, it's that flexibility in deciding, you know, what should I do for my business? What is my value in any given position, you know? And if you look across the board, and it's nice to give, you know, one of my techs a Saturday off and I can fill in for him as a tech, and then I can give my advisor a day off and fill in as an advisor. But it's also the flexibility of being able to solve the problems that come across your table in the way that you want to solve them.
Not just because this is how we've always done it, or the manual or employee handbook, whatever, says you have to do it this way.
Absolutely.
You can be creative and dynamic and make decisions like that. You don't have to run it up the ladder and then wait a week to get it run back down the ladder.
You know, if an issue occurs and we see, you know, it happen once or twice, you know, I sit down with my guys, like, hey, how do we solve this problem? How do we want to fix this? How do we want to make sure that this doesn't happen again? And that flexibility and being able to be creative, because we were all there at shop meeting, okay, well, here's this new pay plan, or here's this new policy, and everyone working there could just see it like a mechanism going through the shop, how it's going to work, and you already knew how that was going to work out before it even happened. No one asked you.
Right. Even if everybody gave it their all and was committed 100%.
You could say, well, this isn't going to work because of these reasons. Well, now, you know, you can make that decision yourself. And then there will be times where you make the wrong decision, and, you know, you're like, oh, that was expensive.
Don't do that one again.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like diagnosing a car. It takes time for you to build your diagnostic process. The first time you run into a problem, you're going to run most likely way more tests than you need to. The next time you see that problem, you go, okay, ignore all these things. I can jump right to this one because this makes more sense than doing all this other stuff. And it's that same mindset, I think, that can really lead to having a successful business, whether it's your shop or whatever you decide that you want to do.
Absolutely.
The big question though, is it worth it? I mean, that's what we all want to know, right? That's what I want to know. If I put my heart and soul into this and I got the chops and I can manage all those difficulties that you've been able to manage, is it worth it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that it's worth it. For me, I'm spending a week at SEMA right now.
Your boss gave you the week off, so that's pretty cool.
And I've got my shop running full speed. I've got an R8 supercharger build. I've got, a full JHM S4, clutch chain rebuild going on, and it's operating completely without me right now. Now, last year when I was at SEMA, I was waking up at 6 a.m., fielding phone calls, ordering parts, getting the ROs ready, running the whole shop for 5 hours.
I remember talking to you about that last year.
Then coming to the show, and then just wanting to pass out, and then my wife wants to go party.
He's a lot more relaxed than he was last year when I first met him. So, and that's important. Guys, this doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in 6 hours a day for a year. It happens in 18 hours a day, 7 days a week for a long time, even if you're good, even if you're a champion level technician or a great technician. That's important. Patience is important, but I think you really nailed it when you said that mindset is where it's all at, because you can hire someone to do your accounting, to do your advising, to fix the cars, but if your mindset, your spirit of your business is wrong and flawed, it's only a matter of time before you sink.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, I get to go to work with all the buddies that I worked with at the dealership.
That's cool.
I'm able to hire them on, and so that you're working with, quality guys that'll do the job right, and you don't have to worry about those types of things. And it's, at the end of the day, the flexibility, being able to decide for yourself. You may be at the point where I was in my career, like, man, I just can't keep wrenching.
Yep. You don't. You lose the love that you had.
And when I was at the dealer, I mean, I totally lost, that enthusiast mindset. I was a, enthusiast before I became a mechanic. And now that I'm at my independent, I get to do cool stuff. I got to put a APR Stage 3 Plus kit on my 105 Audi exclusive Viper Green S3.
I love that car, by the way.
Who would have thought that my job is to wake up and talk to people about putting cool stuff on their cars and being able to put cool stuff on their cars and having the flexibility to decide, what? Next year I'm going to hire myself out of wrenching and I want to promote full time. Yeah. And I want to, and there's all sorts of different avenues that you can go down. We're getting really heavy we became the new Texas and Southern region distributor for AWE tuning.
Nice.
And so that's a whole other business avenue that we get to go down. And so there's always things that can present itself. It's, it's never repetitive. There's always new things to do, new challenges, and I think if you're, if you can get through the hard times, it's definitely worth it.
That's awesome, and that is the story that I think so much of us as technicians or whatever you want to do. That's what we need to hear, because it is hard. No one will say it's easy, but it's actually pretty simple. If you put the work in, if you got the chops to begin with, because let's face it, not everybody's got the chops.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been there. We've seen the new guy in the shop, and we're like, he's just not gonna make. I mean,
Great
I love the guy to death. But
been there multiple
it's just
times.
not gonna make it. It's not for everybody. Just like being a solid dealer tech is not for everybody.
Right.
So,
all right, plug your business. Where are you at?
All right, yeah, so we're Blair Automotive. We're in Frisco, Texas, and we're Audi and Volkswagen, maintenance, service, and also performance. We're APR dealer, AWE dealer, and Eurco tuning, and the list goes on.
And if you got something else you want, I'm sure if you
if
gave them a call,
if
they
there's
could
a
probably
part
help you
made
out.
for an Audi or Volkswagen, we're a dealer for them.
Man, I really got to tell you, I'm so proud of the work you put in. It makes me feel really good that you've been able to do what you wanted to do and get where you want to get in a relatively short period of time, I think. And more importantly, for this moment, thank you for taking the time to share that with everybody else, because I think there's a lot of people that are really going to benefit from that, and it's the insight that business books don't give you, or bitter old technicians don't give you, or the dealership says you're never going to be able to make it. He did it. So a lot of times whenever I do something, I feel like if I can do it, anybody can do it. You just got to put the work in.
Absolutely.
Ryan, man, appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. If you have any questions or comments, comment section below, questions for Ryan, shoot them down there too. I'll make sure he sees them. If you like this video, throw it a thumbs up on YouTube. I always appreciate that. You can also subscribe on YouTube or on the blog at humblemechanic.com. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, Snapchat. I'm going to link up all your stuff in the description.
Sounds good.
If you're in Frisco, check them out. If you want some Go Fast parts or DSG service, whatever, DSG service are always great work. So we'll send it that way. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.